What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. You know, I really wish that Democrats would just come out and say that they don't care about laws in this country. They just do not care about upholding and enforcing our laws at all. I really do. Check this out, y'all. ICE raids and their uncertainty scare off workers and baffle businesses. Oh, here we go, folks. Here we go. So this is a whole diatribe on, you know, the negative effects of Donald Trump's ICE raids at the workplace. Yeah, apparently. So it's just, I love it, y'all. I love talking about this for some reason. Farmers, cattle ranchers, and hotel and restaurant managers breathed a sigh of relief last week when President Donald Trump ordered a pause to immigration raids that were disrupting those industries and scaring foreign-born workers off the job. That is a lie. He did not order a pause. He didn't. He abso-freaking-lutely did not. I don't know where they're getting that information from. He did come out with a statement, said we're going to do something about this, but he didn't say what we were going to do. He just acknowledged the existence that, hang on, this is a problem. It's pretty much all he did. But, you know, Democrats, they got out there and was like, hang on, what? They were confused. Republicans, some of them took it the wrong way as well. Like, what, we're not going to enforce our laws anymore? Well, hang on, y'all. That's not what Donald Trump said. He just acknowledged that we have a problem and that something needs to be done about it. We don't want to see our businesses destroyed, especially not right now when we're kind of in a tenuous situation with our economy, right? And we need to expand our economy. We need to start getting back into some growth here because, you know, the last 4 years of Joe Biden kind of decimated our economy. Yeah, okay, I'll be fair. COVID decimated the economy. Donald Trump was getting it back on track. And then Joe Biden come in and he didn't help matters. We'll put it that way. He only made things a little bit worse. A little bit worse. He's destroying the country, though. Just outright. I stick to that. I definitely stick to that. I'm not going to back away from that stance. There was finally a sense of calm, said Rebecca Shaw, CEO of the American Business Immigration Coalition. Oh, is that so? That respite didn't last long. Was it a respite? No, it wasn't a respite. Once again, on Wednesday, Assistant Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Tricia McLaughlin, declared, there will be no safe spaces for industries who harbor violent criminals or purposely try to undermine immigration enforcement efforts. Okay, so taking all this in, all right, talking about this pause or whatever, which there wasn't a pause, and this lady, what's her name again? Rebecca Shaw, CEO, said, oh, we had a respite there for a little bit. Hang on, is the Trump administration going to stop enforcing the laws? And hang on, so we get this statement from the Assistant Secretary of the Homeland Security. And she's talking about violent criminals. And apparently that's a bad thing. I mean, we're not talking about your average, everyday criminal alien that just comes across the border that actually comes here for a better life. We're not talking about those people. They're talking about the violent criminals, right? The problem, though, with just allowing these people to come in is we don't know who they are. They might be coming here for a better life because they ruined their life in their old country because they're a serial killer or something. You know, they're really bad people that sometimes they just don't change. They want to come here so they can start over so they're not being hunted down by law enforcement. That's all I'm saying. So we need to vet these people. And that was the problem with the Biden administration. He was just allowing them to come in and not vetting any of these people at all. That's the problem with this, is they don't vet them. It's hard to vet people from other countries. It's really hard, and it takes a long time. But anyway, let's keep going. Worksite enforcement remains a cornerstone of our efforts to safeguard public safety, national security, and economic stability. The flip-flop baffled businesses trying to figure out the government's actual policy, and Shai says now there's fear and worry once more. Why would you fear that the Trump administration is removing violent criminals from the country? Like I was saying in the other video, Democrats just consistently get on the 20% side of an 80-20 issue when they are actively advocating for criminals. It's baffling. That's what's baffling. There was no flip-flop. Like I said, people interpreted Donald Trump's statement however they felt like interpreting Donald Trump's statement. But if you listen to what he said, once again, he just acknowledged there was a problem here. He didn't say anything about fixing it. None of that. He just acknowledged there was a problem and we need to do something about it. He didn't say what that was. None of that. But once again, people interpreted that however the hell they wanted to and just decided in their brain that, hang on, Donald Trump's going to stop raiding these workplaces? Okay, whatever. That's not a way to run business when your employees are at this level of stress and trauma, she said. Trump campaigned on a promise to deport millions of immigrants working in the United States illegally, an issue that has long fired up his GOP base. No, it has long fired up 70% of the country. Once again, you go poll after poll after poll. 70 to 80% of the country agrees that we should not allow people to enter this country illegally. Most Americans agree on that. The crackdown intensified a few weeks ago when Stephen Miller, White House Deputy Chief of Staff, gave the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement a quota of 3,000 arrests a day, up from 650 a day in the first 5 months of Trump's second term. Suddenly, ICE seemed to be everywhere. We saw ICE agents on farms, pointing assault rifles at cows, and removing half the workforce, said Shai, whose coalition represents 1,700 employers and supports increased legal immigration. Where's the harm in pointing an assault rifle at a cow? And do we believe that? No, that's hyperbole, folks. They weren't pointing assault rifles at any cows. But, once again, in the corporate press's ever conquest to make Republicans look bad and Democrats not so much, they did not say that she said that they were pointing assault rifles at cows without evidence, right? They always do that for Republicans whenever it's convenient for the corporate press to say that, oh, Donald Trump or Republicans said this without evidence. But when a Democrat makes some unfounded claim, they don't ever do that for Democrats. This is how you know that our media is biased. This is one way to know that. It's one way to know for a fact. This is not just manipulation where they could be just manipulating it and you really don't know. But this right here is proof positive that we are being manipulated and that our media is heavily biased, folks. Not just slightly biased, not just left-leaning, heavily biased. It's always Republicans bad, Democrats not so much. One ICE raid left a New Mexico dairy with just 20 workers, down from 55. You can't turn off cows, said Beverly Insignia. Yeah, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that anymore. The executive director of the dairy producers of New Mexico. They need to be milked twice a day, fed twice a day. Once again, look, that I equate this essentially to, okay, let's say you get a cut on your arm, right? We can all easily picture this situation, right? You get a cut on your arm and say you just decide, I'm not going to do anything about it, right? And it gets infected. And you just don't like going to the doctor, right? So it gets infected real bad and it gets gangrenous. And so you finally decide you're going to go to the doctor. And he says, no, it's infected. It's spreading throughout your body. We must amputate, right? So this is what Democrats are advocating for. It's, no, we're not going to do anything about it at all. We're just going to leave the infection in place. That is what they're advocating for. The doctor said, no, you must cut it off. You must. Right? Illegal immigration and having all these people in the workforce, it's not a good thing. You might think it's a good thing, right? Democrats are constantly advocating, oh, well, who's going to pick your crops? Do we want to be a nation of slaves, for goodness sakes? Right? It's not really slavery, but it's subclasses of people that Democrats are consistently advocating for. That's what it is. It's a second-class citizen that has no voting rights. They don't have all the same rights under the Constitution that we do, despite what Democrats tell you. They're constantly advocating to have people in this country illegally. They can't get the same health insurance. They can't get the same benefits as American citizens. So they are second-class citizens. They have no say in our electorate. Not really. I mean, they kind of do a little bit, but they don't have a voice, essentially. They can't go and vote for their representative. They get counted on the census. That's the only pseudo-representation that they get. They get counted on the census, which, once again, sanctuary cities, these people go to these sanctuary cities because Democrats will give them free handouts. So they will go there so Democrats can derive more power from them being there just from that, getting counted on the census, because that's how congressional seats are apportioned. It's also how the Electoral College works, based upon population. Right, so it's all a play for power. They don't care about these people, folks. I'm trying to get this message across to people because they really, really, genuinely do not care. That's why they want second-class citizens in this country. That's what they're advocating for. So these people, once again, they can't get all the benefits that you get. None of those things. Their wages are lower in some instances, a lot lower in some cases, right? So they're creating a slave class in this country, essentially, or one step above that, right? Second-class citizens. Like I said, I'm trying to get this message across because Democrats will advocate for this until the cows come home, literally. And it's just genuinely insane. They want to keep these people in the workplace. Why? Because it's cheap labor. Taking jobs away from American citizens, keeping the wages for these jobs low. So American citizens don't want the jobs because they don't pay enough, because they've been paying criminal aliens these low rates for decades. It is insane. It really is. If we could get rid of these places, it would force these businesses to raise their wages and give Gen Z a chance, right? So they could have good outcomes. We'll put it that way. Gen Z could actually buy into the American dream at this point. But this illegal, unchecked immigration only damages the workforce, for goodness sakes. Don't think like it's a lie when they tell you, oh, poll after poll after poll says Americans don't want to do these jobs. Yeah, that's because they don't want to do the jobs for the same wages that a criminal alien gets. Of course not, because it's low wages. It's not up to regular standards of everybody else in the country. Because why? Because they're second-class citizens. They have no say. They get mistreated in the workplace too. It's crazy. And Democrats, once again, they constantly advocate for this. And it's really insane. Claudio Gonzalez, a chief at Izakaya Gazen in Los Angeles, Little Tokyo district, said many of his Hispanic workers, whether they're in the country legally or not, have been calling out of work recently due to fears that they will be targeted by ICE. Once again, and this is Democrats, anybody that's in the country legally has no worries about ICE raiding them, for goodness sakes. This is just fear-mongering coming from the Democrats. His restaurant is a few blocks away from a collection of federal buildings, including an ICE detention center. They sometimes are too scared to work their shift, Gonzalez said. They kind of feel like it's based on skin color. Well, it doesn't matter what they feel like. That's not what it's based on. It's based on their citizenship status. Their legal status. We'll put it that way. That's what it's based on. Because if it was a bunch of white Europeans pouring into this country by the millions, it would be this exact same thing. We would boot these people out just the same. In some places, the problem isn't ICE, but rumors of ICE. Oh, Wars and rumors of wars, except it's ICE. At cherry harvesting time in Washington state, many foreign-born workers are staying away from the orchards after hearing reports of impending immigration raids. One operation that usually employs 150 pickers is down to 20. Never mind that there hasn't actually been any sign of ICE in the orchards. This is a good thing. We've not heard of any real raids, said John Folden, orchard manager for the farm cooperative Bluebird in Washington's Wenatchee River Valley. We've heard a lot of rumors. Jenny Murray, CEO for the advocacy group National Immigration Forum, said, some immigrant parents worry that their workplaces will be raided and that they'll be hauled off by ICE while their kids are in school. They ask themselves, she said, do I show up and then my second grader gets off the school bus and doesn't have a parent to raise them? Maybe I should show up for work. Yeah, maybe. Let's go one step further, people. Maybe you shouldn't have entered the country illegally and put your children in a dangerous position. Like, really? Like, and once again, none of these people think about that. Oh, they think that they could just come into a country illegally and there's no repercussions whatsoever. That is some of the most insane thinking I think I've ever thought in my entire life. Like, oh, geez, what is wrong with people? The horror stories were conveyed to Trump, members of his administration, and lawmakers in Congress by business advocacy and immigration reform groups like Shah's Coalition. Last Thursday, the president posted on his Truth Social platform that our great farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business have been stating that our very aggressive policy on immigration is taking very good long-time workers away from them, with these jobs being almost impossible to replace. It was another case of Trump's political agenda slamming smack into economic reality. With U.S. unemployment low at 4.2%, many businesses are desperate for workers, and immigration provides them. Okay, so that was some of the most insane nonsense. Once again, that was the statement from Trump. And does that sound like he's going to stop raiding anybody? No, he didn't say that at all. He just said he hears these people. We're going to do something about it. Right? So unemployment is at 4.2%. Hey, hang on just a second. There's a lot of people being deported from the country. They're raiding all these farms. These farms need workers. Can you put two and two together right there? Somebody, please, down in the comment section. Y'all let me know what 2 and 2 is. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, foreign-born workers made up less than 19% of employed workers in the United States in 2023, but they accounted for nearly 24% of jobs preparing and serving food and 38% of jobs in farming, fishing, and forestry. That's insane, y'all. It really is, and that's got to change. It really needs to change. It really is clear to me that people pushing for these raids that target farms and feed yards and dairies have no idea how farms operate. Matt Teagarden, CEO of the Kansas Livestock Association, said Tuesday during a virtual press conference. Yeah, they don't. But who cares how a farm operates? It has nothing to do with farm operations. Nothing to do. It has everything to do with enforcing our laws. That's what it has to do with. And the very fact that the Biden administration allowed upwards of 20 million illegals to come into this country. That's what it's about. Hey, my guy, how about you don't hire illegal immigrants or criminal aliens for that matter? How about you just don't hire these people, right? If you truly cared about your business. Right? Like, what idiot? Seriously, I'm going to go hardcore on this. What a bonehead do you have to be, right? To be totally dependent, almost totally dependent, for the operations of your farm on criminal aliens knowing that ICE could come up and arrest all of your employees. How stupid is this person? They're just dumb, right? And also at the same time, now they're complicit with hiring second-class citizens. Call them citizens. Second-class people that have no voting rights. They don't have all the rights under our Constitution. They don't get all the benefits that you or I would get from a workplace environment like that. They don't get paid vacation. They don't get none of those things. These people are complicit with that. They should be shamed into oblivion. They deserve to get their business shuttered. Just outright, blatantly. Outright. I know Donald Trump doesn't want this, and currently our economy doesn't need that, but hey, look, it is what it is. That's what they deserve for being stupid and trying to hire indentured servants. It's insane, y'all. It really is. But I think that's all I got on this one. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Y'all don't forget, smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. I would appreciate that a lot. Share this video all over the place. That is the #1 way to help grow this channel right here. And if you'd be so inclined, I'd appreciate smashing that join button, which is right there next to the, or where it's where the subscribe button used to be. I don't know why that was so hard to get out, but it's where the subscribe button used to be if you're subscribed. Click that for me. Do me a favor and then check that out. Just do it. Click it and read. That's all I'm asking. Click it and read. Check it out. Y'all do that for me. Y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.